Ladies and gentlemen, we actually are a minute early. Decided might as well just go ahead and jump on this and get this going. Hope everybody is doing well. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you being a part of the community, and thank you so much for your support of what it is that we do here. So today we're going to be doing primarily question and answer. You can ask your question accordingly. Let's go ahead and discuss just a couple of things real quick. I want to say hi to everybody. So for those of you who are in, Mark Quahog, what's going on? Littlefoot, Niels, Shandy, how you doing? We'll be talking about your question here in just a minute. So thank you so much for being there. Eric, good morning. Mike Nottleman, good morning. Vote for Pedro. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for coming in. Siren, my colorful chat friend, how are you? Thank you so much for being moderators today. AZ Coins, hope you're doing well. And I think that's Jack Gallman. Good day from Marion, North Carolina. Hope you're doing well. And again, thank you all for being here. Definitely appreciate you. How are you doing this morning, Eric?
Wonderful. Had lots of coin work this weekend.
What's on the agenda for this week?
I do have a reveal today and a reveal tomorrow. Just looking at coins, trying to catch up. I was about 200 coins deep into variety attribution because I got COVID, and of course I didn't do anything for basically 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm catching up with that, and then I'll start publishing all of them on the website. And that's all that I really got going today or this week.
Very cool. I'm trying to set up one thing for there's something screwy going on with this stream. So I've got to turn something on real quick. So hold on just a sec.
Okay.
When I do it this way, I've noticed that my monetization doesn't actually come up because it pulls a brand new channel stream, and then I get notification that it doesn't show up. So have to figure out how to adjust that. So I have to do that manually when it comes up. All right. So Joe McBride, what's up, brother? How you doing? I haven't talked to you for a little bit. Hope you're doing well. I want to start off by answering Quahog's question. And the question goes something like this. So the question is, the U.S. heading towards a central bank, essentially focusing on things like digital currency. So there's a couple of things that we want to say about this. Number one, we're already in a central bank. That's what the Federal Reserve is. I think the intent of the question is, are we talking about a worldwide bank? Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong in that, but I think that's where you're heading with that particular question. So clarify that if you would. Quahog, I appreciate that. But are we moving towards a replacement for digital currency against real tangible money, right? That's kind of where I got from the question that you were asking. So if we were to say that, I would have to say a couple things from the financial side of the house, which is something like a CBDC is considered by the finance industry as a complement, not a replacement. Now, there are problems with the CBDC, one of them being control. But there are reasons why people would want to see that, right? Financial inclusion. Again, when you're looking at certain segments of the population, cash is hard for people to manage. If you go to certain places, we have a store that's by here that they are almost all cashless. You can't use cash. I've tried to buy things and they're like, sorry, we don't even keep change in the till. Yep. If you want to pay for it, then you can do that. But you know, but we don't even have it. So there are stores that they're not required by law to accept it, but it is an exchange, right? So some of that's already happening. Again, with the CBDC or digital currency, there are concerns about privacy, the resilience of it. What happens? That's, again, just like our other stuff. What happens with technical failures, cyber attacks, other disruptions? So, yeah, don't worry about that. It's okay. I spoke autocorrect as well, so don't worry about it. there's a lot of interest in it. Eric and I were talking about this just before we came up. If you and being a VA, a disabled vet, I remember having to get checks from the VA and then having to cash those. It costs them millions of dollars every month to print that and get those out. And it's rather frustrating. Rockzilla, I have stores only take cash, no cards. Yeah, and again, it goes both ways, right?
Yep.
So we're definitely not there. There are people that exchange silver and gold, right, for services, right? So we still have barter system in certain areas. But are we moving that direction? For the sake of convenience, I think that a lot of places are moving for that. For big government, big agencies, it only makes sense because transactions happen faster. Anything e-commerce, you buy anything online, you're not sending them cash, and so everything is ACH or EBD debit or something like that. So you're looking at just ease of convenience, right? We are a society that is on demand. It doesn't matter if it's videos, it doesn't matter if it's whatever, and cash and payment are another one of those on demand. You guys remember we used to have this little red thing that came across, and it was called COD, and COD was cash on delivery. You had to actually pay the delivery driver. So if you had a package come in, you had to have that cash handy. Well, there were problems with that because the people who received that. And so again, it's another way. Yeah, and again, there are issues with it, right? Me, how you doing, bud? Good to see you here. Definitely the locus of control, right? That is something that is a big one. How does it impact the financial system? Again, concerns exist about how the commercial bank might deposit lending and how they shift money away from the traditional banks and what's to take them from using money to make more money, only to say that we need more money, and then they print it, and now again we see the constant decline in our money. The other one is a lot of people anti-government, anti-establishmentarianism. They look at these things and say that Congress should not have authorization over how or why or when we distribute our monies. So there's tons of reasons about why I don't believe it will go 100%. It is leaning in that direction. But again, it will not be a 100% cashless society. There's too many people that will not allow that. People will stop using the electronic and they'll go to a bartering structure.
Yeah, I do know that the term cash is king. I doubt that that's actually true anymore.
Probably not. Now, when they talk about cash is king, ones and zeros are still technically considered money, even though they're just binary digits for on or off. So there's, again, when you're talking about money, but when you're talking about hard physical cash or currency, again, the answer is, yeah. So in some cases, we're moving away from it, but in the most places, I don't think we're going to be getting rid of it. I don't think that there's enough control over the system, over the structure. Again, there's too many issues, and there are way, way, way too many people who don't want government involvement. So are we moving towards it? Well, again, to reiterate, we are already a central bank. That's what the Fed is. So if you're looking towards a world denomination, and God forbid, if you're religious and you follow Revelation and you talk about a world currency, that should make your hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit, because that talks about the end times. So if you are a stacker, prepper, and stuff like that, and that's where you believe, again, I'm not flagging any warning bells or saying that I'm for it or against it. You guys kind of know where I stand on this particular topic. But yeah, it's definitely a potential problem. So I definitely, again, you guys know where I stand on this. Eric, any additional thoughts on this?
Well, I think if we go cashless, it's not going to be because they demand it. I think it's going to be because people demand it. Look how many people are using electronic fund transfers now, not because they have to, because they want to.
Well, yeah, just like the VA.
Walk around,
yeah,
you have no cash in your pocket. you know, it does a lot of things that circumvent problems that money causes in the first place. But cashless, I don't think it ever will be cashless, uh, just because that there's always going to be a room for cash transactions. You were talking at the beginning about a store that didn't take cash. I can tell you that like 3 years ago, uh, there was a big push by uh, American Express. They came into a friend of mine's business and said, if you accept only American Express, we'll give you $50,000 right now. So they wanted him to turn his restaurant into, you can only pay with American Express, no cash, no other credit cards. And he just told him, he says, are you crazy? You know, how many people actually have American Express? And to his surprise, they said 40 million Americans have American Express.
Oh, it's big business.
Yeah.
And again, when you talk about things like that, I mean, how many other places talk about proprietary? You look at computer systems, right? They're the proprietary systems. So that's nothing new. We're going to see that. We're going to see a lot of that when it comes to.
So, but basically, free
happens,
trade in general is trying to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not the government.
Yeah. So, are we going that direction? Right now, there are too many people against it for a big push to go that direction.
Yeah. Well, I think we're moving in that direction, but I don't think it's because it's what the government wants. I think it's just because it's moving in that direction.
We are a like people, and we want things on demand. Right. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want to have to go back to writing checks. A lot of people carry cash. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of people don't want to go backwards. I enjoy the fact that I know every month my banking system, because of the way I've structured my stuff, my bills are paid for, right?
Yep.
It gets cycled. I know what's there. If I have something happen with my debit, my credit card, or something of that nature, I know I make a telephone call. I give that person my information, and I cycle through, and my bills are paid for. It's simple. It's easy. And because I do everything in that structure, if there's any kind of fraud, I'm also protected. If somebody steals your cash, you're gone. Yeah, it's gone, right? So there are certain consumer protections where it is beneficial. So there's pros and cons. The problem, and this is where most of us in the community have this issue, is the locus of control. And that's what most people fear. And in some cases, you're absolutely right. In others, it's fear mongering. So again, act, don't act. You guys will hear me say this all the time. And be smart, make educated decisions, and don't be so quick to sign up for automatic things until you understand the business that you're doing it with, where your money is going. Because there are some places I will not allow them to have my money to do debit or credit withdrawals on. They can't do ACHs from my account, because I don't trust them, those companies. I manually send them money every month or whatnot. So again, you have to be smart about it, make good informed decisions. But I want to capture a couple of these questions really quick. So great question, Wahog, great question. Neil Shun Dynasty, I'm buying $20 at 20-25 pennies from the bank to hold 4 years. My question is, what is the intent? $20 is not a lot, so it's not a big deal. It's not even a box of pennies. But why? And 20, if you're going to buy 20, buy a box. It's easier to store.
Buy 25.
Right? Buy 25. Okay. But the question is why? They're not rare. This isn't going to be the last year for Lincoln Cents. So explain the logic there. And I know that he said I'm leaving. He may have left already. He may be back. But if you're still out there, explain to me the thought process behind that, because we've already showed, and again, I'll pull this up. Let me do this really quick, and I will share this. I love pulling up U.S. coin production. If you guys aren't familiar with this,
another week we should have another month's worth on there.
Yeah, next week we will. That's fact. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. If you're looking at vertical mode, thank you so much. I appreciate you putting that in there. So when you look at this again, you can come to the U.S. Mint, do coin production, choose the circulating coins. And then when you click on the circulating coins, come up here to 2025 and hit submit. And then what will happen is that will tell you how many Lincoln cents in total. And right now, Denver, 626,000. That has gone up from last month. Philadelphia, 639,000. That has gone up from last month. And then we have a total of 1.2 billion pennies. Jack Gallman with $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much, from my friend. I definitely appreciate the support. Thank you so much for that. And to the new subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Much appreciated. Okay, yeah, that's millions. That's a lot. But 1.2 billion. It's a lot of friggin' pennies. And again, we're only at the halfway point of the year. So in a couple weeks, we're going to see, hey, me just gifted 5 memberships. Thanks so much, me.
All right,
I appreciate the support. Let's see who got those 7 stacks. The Gambit, Coin Silver, Jackknife, and Snoopy stacks. Please, if you guys see that, please thank you. To watch what I do here, also known as @me, my buddy me, my Navy brother from another military mother. So thanks, you guys. I appreciate all the support. Really, 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 I do. All right. So again, we're looking at 1.2 million. And again, when we talk about people saying the nickels were going to be rare, check this out. 452 million nickels have already been produced. 205 million from Denver, 246 million from Philadelphia. These are not rare coins, folks. They're not even scarce. There's a shit ton, a proverbial shit ton of coins. So why are you keeping these? What's the purpose behind it? Now, if you collect them and you want to have them in your stack, okay, cool, not a problem. But let's do this. Let's be smart about it, and let's not fall to FOMO, the fear of missing out. FOMO is an enemy of us in the coin and the stacking communities. So definitely be careful for following the media hype about everything going away. Eddie Errol, or Etta Errol, thank you so much for the subscription. Your name just popped up, and actually, if you were in the landscape mode, you're going to see your name in the bottom right corner in lights. So thank you so much for subscribing. Appreciate you coming in. All right, so let's pull up the next question. The next question was from Mike. Hey, if Congress doesn't decide how much money to distribute, who would? So Congress doesn't actually decide how much to do it. The Federal Reserve does. And it's governed by the Secretary of the Treasury. Secretary of the Treasury has to make the determination of whether or not there's enough money to sustain the needs of the United States. And so Congress, what they do is they put out the law and say, here are the denominations, here are the things that have to be on here, here is something that is required to be on the coin, here are the devices, and then it goes through its happy sticky wickets that get the approvals and everything done. But the people who actually determine how much is done, how much is printed, how much is minted, is going to be the U.S. Treasury along with the Federal Reserve. So when they say, the Federal Reserve says, we need X amount of dollars, we need X amount of coins, then the mint gets an order and the Treasury Secretary signs off on it and does that. So again, it's not Congress that determines how much of it is done. It's actually the Federal Reserve backed by the Secretary of the Treasury. They're the ones that actually make that determination. Now, every time a bill is passed, the Fed prints it. That's fact. But the Fed has to actually put in the order, and then that order is reviewed and approved by Congress. So it's the Fed asking for the money, not Congress. Congress is the one approving it. Now, if they didn't approve that, who would do it? Well, God forbid that we ever allow them just to choose to do that. We could never allow that, because then our money we would turn into, what's the place with the $100 million note?
Oh, Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe, right? We're going to end up looking like Zimbabwe. So again, it's to understand the importance of the checks and balances that happen within that particular structure and system, right? So the Fed has basically a blank check. This is why people hate what happened in 1913. This is why you hear the sentiment, and I'm not saying this, I'm just repeating this, and the Fed. Why am I saying I'm not repeating it? Well, because number one, it's legislation. We have to fix this, and we can complain about it. We can say down with whatever, but how do we correct it? We actually have to work on changing the laws and do things the appropriate way. Yeah, only Congress can appropriate. Yes, that's fact. But again, so it's important to understand, and you understand this, but you're asking questions. I want to make sure other people understand the importance of being able to lay it out and do that. So again, it has to be appropriated through Congress. And why is the Fed given a blank check? Well, it's because of the whole men sitting in a room saying, hey, how do we run the government? We're all banking. We all run the money here. How do we make it to where we own the locus of power? And basically, that's what it boiled down to. You can tell me that it had to do with helping the nation and all this other crap, and I call that BS. I really firmly believe that they were like, hey, we have the opportunity to control the financial future of this nation. Let's lock this up. And I think that's where that ended up. What's up, See Happy Chappy? What's going on? Miss Coin Crew, see you in here. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Again, lots of great questions. I got one more. And it's, of course, YouTube me. If there's no cash, will there be no panhandlers? No, absolutely not. There's going to be panhandlers always. They'll just find different ways to do it. Again, what's important about doing this, what's important about looking at situations like the needy or people who are just seeking to get more, where there's a will, there's a way. And so, again, there doesn't have to be physical cash. They will, you see this thing will work for food. People weren't asking for necessary cash, but what they were hoping for is people would give them cash because they don't have a job for them, right? So, but no, where there's a will, there's a way, and people will find a way to get whatever they want. It doesn't have to be cash. Eventually, if we came to cashless system and we were looking at bartering and stuff like that, it may be, we'll work for a thimble. We'll work for silver. We'll work for gold. We'll work for whatever. So no, just because the cash is gone doesn't mean that the little side hustles by people are going to go away. That's definitely not going to happen. Yeah, you know what, Rockzilla? That's actually funny as hell, but that is 100% true. I found that out the other day, and I looked at my daughter, and I was like, what the hell is happening to... they want me to tap their phone for money. Are you kidding me? I mean, outside of the security issues there, because you have no idea what they have on their phone and what information's going on. Scanning a QR code is about the worst thing that you can do security. If you don't know for 100% where that QR code is, never scan a QR code that you don't know the authenticity of who created it. Never. Because in an instance, you can lose your data. Never, ever scan a QR code and never tap somebody's phone. I looked at my daughter and I was like, don't you ever. Like, oh my God, I don't mean to be ignorant, but, I can go get cash, but are you for real? Like, you want me to tap your, no? Hell no. Like, on so many levels. And he looked at me and was like, well, you just need to get with the times, sir. And I was like, oh, trust me, security, I'm way ahead of you on being aware of the times. Yeah, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Frosty has a storm coming through. Do I? It's sunny as hell here right now. I'm not sure what you're seeing. Or do you know something? He might be close. He might know something that I don't know. I might have to be checking the weather. Me as a truck driver, for those of you who don't know, he pays attention to this kind of stuff. I think he's talking about Money Storm because it's definitely not going to be, there's nothing on the radar. Audio is choppy. Is anybody else's audio choppy? If it is, I will adjust. And again, me, thanks so much for being here. It's good to see you in the stream. It's clean here now. You know what? When I turned my phone on, I might have gotten interference, excuse me, from that and my speaker. So it might have been because I turned my phone on to look at something. Clear as a bell. Outstanding. No audio issues here. Audio normal here. Okay, perfect. Much appreciated. All right. Well, so far we had 4 really good questions. Do we have any more? Great discussion. This is what Sunday's about. It's to be able to ask questions, and again, open for whatever you guys want to discuss. Coins are usually better, numismatic items, usually better questions. I don't mind if you have questions regarding your silver and gold and stuff like that. Go ahead and do that. We do have people in chat who are experts and way more knowledgeable about things like errors, varieties, and things of that nature. So I may not be able to answer, but there are other people in chat who are extremely adept to being able to answer this. So please feel free to ask any question. Oh, man, that was fun. But I like this stuff. I like being able to come up with stuff like this. And again, folks, when we're looking at numbers like this, good grief. Look at the numbers. Now, when you look at the half dollars are a little bit lower than they have been. But again, total denomination, 3 billion coins have already been minted. I was waiting for Pedro to say something goofy. Frosty, does this skirt and tube top make me look fat? It's not the tube top that makes you look fat, brother. It's the fat that makes you look fat.
There you go. I was going to say fat's a relative term.
Say that again.
Fat is a relative term.
That is true. So you said the Pearl Harbor. The wife wants to go check that out. Look what I'm showing. We were talking, Eric and I were talking about this. You're talking about going to Pearl Harbor. I happen to have a couple Pearl Harbor coins up here. Littlefoot silver. Let's see. Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. Could you tell your version about the racketeer nickel? Oh man, that is a fun story. The racketeer nickel, if you're not familiar with that, is it is the 5. Let me actually pull up an image of what that is. And again, you're going to we've had a couple people in chat that talked about this beforehand. The racketeer nickel, you got to be very careful if you're buying one, because most likely the racketeer nickel that you buy is not necessarily going to be authentic. But the racketeer nickel was the 1883 no cents V nickel. And the Mike, I wish he was feeling better and he could actually come up and talk about this. He had a really good explanation when we talked a little bit about this on Father's Day. I'm going to pull this up just so that you can see this image. Let me do this. Racketeer nickel. Okay, so this is the actual coin that was utilized. This is the 1883 no cents. And again, you'll see the Roman numeral 5. Yeah, no problem, Littlefoot. Happy to do so. And on the bottom of this, unlike you would with the 1884, it doesn't actually have the word cents on it. So there were people who they would see opportunity, and what they would do is they would coat this in gold. They would dip this, and then they would go buy something that was cheaper than a nickel, whether it be like a 3-cent cigar or 2-cent cigar or something like that. And then they would put this on the counter. And if the person that was behind the teller gave them change, $4.97, they would just leave. They would take the money. It was a mistake by the teller and just whatever. And then if they gave them change for a nickel, then they thought, oh, this is really interesting. And then they gave them their 2 cents back. Then they would take the 2 cents and they would leave. Primarily doing this because by never saying that it was a denomination, they alleviated that technical loophole that was trying to pass something on as more than it was. Now, as Littlefoot just put in chat, I'm joshing you. So the name of the person was supposed to be Josh. And so that's, again, this is conjecture. We don't know for certain, right? This is depending upon what story you hear the name. And, this is a blind man who did this and thought of an opportunity. And again, the story changes depending upon it. I'm not sure which one is actually true. But that's where that story joshing you comes from, because the name was supposed to be that, and it does come from the story of the racketeer nickel. Now, Mike, excuse me, I didn't mean to do that and clear my throat. Is there anything about that you would like to add? Because again, it's an amazing story, but most likely the coins you're going to be finding, if you're actually looking for one of these, and Mike says yes, he'll be typing stuff in chat about this. So continuously watch chat regarding this. I love the history of the racketeer nickel. Number one, it does a couple things. And if you've ever watched the CCAC, we've talked about this beforehand. Mike says, read the edge before you played it. If you look at one of these and they have a smooth edge, that's a definite giveaway. Very cool. That's up. He says, great job. Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing story. I listen, Mike. I do. I really listen. What this does is this also helps us understand why certain things happen in a CCAC meeting. Now, a CCAC meeting is where they look at the design elements of a coin and they vote on things and they say, these are good, these are bad things. And one of the things that when they talk about Homeland Security and is this going to cause issues, one of the questions you'll hear them ask is, how easy is it to counterfeit? Can this be utilized? How easy would it be for them to manipulate the denomination and be utilized for something else? So there are questions that come up because of the history for this. Azure, is Paula okay? Paula had a very rough day and had to go to a celebration of life. Their family, as you are well aware, over the course of the last few months has gone through a series of issues with first losing, I think it was the son's wife's mother or the wife's son's mother, or something like that. And then they lost their grandmother. So there were a number of family losses that happened. There were some health issues that came about. And so there were just a number of things that were going on. And it's just, they're wrapping up a very difficult time within their family. So Paula has said that, she's doing well. She's okay. It's just emotionally taxing. There's a lot of stuff, and she needs to be with her family and support her family. And so you can send her well wishes and let her know that you're thinking about her. But I definitely will let her know that, because both you and Pedro have been very good to ask. There's actually been quite a people who've asked how she's doing. And so I definitely appreciate that. And I will relay the love and appreciate for that. Yeah, I agree, Mike. That's good people and very knowledgeable. So, but that's where she's at. That's what's going on. And so Eric and I this morning we were unsure because she said maybe not, but it's quite clear that she probably needed to just take time and spend time with her family. Thanks, Littlefoot. Definitely appreciate that's very nice. She will appreciate that. She's very big on prayer, and so just say your prayers. There's also something else that I would like to do. I don't know. You guys know Goomba Gary? You guys know that name? His birthday's coming up, and he has asked people to do something, and that is to come alongside of him and to donate to a nonprofit that supports Army Special Forces and their families. In my community page later on, I'm going to be posting a link. I've got to do a little bit more research on the agency and what happens so that as people ask me questions, I can do this. But I received a message this morning where he wants, if you're going to, instead of sending him something or doing something nice for him, um, send a thing towards that. So I will be forwarding that on. I'll be putting that in my community page later on. But again, just another great example of how people in the community are just trying to better. And you guys know that in this community, and I'm not talking about the one that you're in right now, but in general, we support not only our military people who have served or actively serve each month, but we also support the first responders. There's a lot of amazing people who sacrifice for that. And we also talk about the caregivers of the people who do that. So there's a lot of amazing people. There's a lot of things that happen in the community. But again, in order for me to do my due diligence in order of protection of that, I'm going to validate everything for you, give you all the pertinent information that you may need to know about this organization should you have any questions, and then I will be putting it in my community page later on. So if you want to do that, and then you can share that out accordingly. Huge shout out and kudos to Goomba Gary, also aka Mr. Huffman, Mr. Person who told me everything I need to know about jumping out of an airplane when I did the DB Cooper story, because everything DB Cooper did, he's done. To talk about how like physically jumped out of the plane that has the back hatch, and physically jumping out of an airplane and landing in water and being able to get to shore, and physically jumping with hot shots in mountainous terrain. And so storied individual. If you don't know, Gary's, he's a cool dude, man. He's we have some people in this community who I've seen some pretty wacky stuff. So just another great member of the community. So go check out Goomba Gary. And again, that'll be in my community page later on. Let's see. Any other questions that have come in that I might have missed? Did you see anything, Eric?
No. I've been looking too. When you were first starting, I was in the middle of something and I finished that up, and I've actually been looking since.
Hey, what's up, Muscle Show? Let me clear my throat. You made that song famous. Let's see. How you doing, Muscle Show? Good to see you. I don't see anything. I do see, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. I'll gladly pay you Friday for a hamburger today. Was it Tuesday? I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger.
I think it's Friday. I don't know.
I can't remember if it was Tuesday or I'll gladly pay you Friday. I thought it was I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Can't remember. I've got every branch of service.
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. I thought it was Tuesday. Vote for Pedro. I've got every branch of service except Space Force in my family. Poor cousins in the Coast Guard gets the most grief. Yeah, so here's the thing. Vote for Pedro's pretty spacey himself, so I'll give him coverage for that. And the Coast Guard, you know what the Coast Guard is? One of the older, people don't realize how old the Coast Guard actually is in the United States. And actually in my community page, I put all the birthdays of all the services because people were asking about the semi-quincentennial and the 250th anniversary. So if you ever want to know what the birthday of the service of a birthday is, you can go see that in my community page too.
Have you ever seen the fellas that they got? I think they're the only service, if you're over 6'8", you can join.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, they're in Fort Myers. There's a Coast Guard base, and they come into the restaurants and stuff like that. And you just look at them, and you're just like, and I'm an enormous man, and I'm like, whoa, maybe that's why the Coast Guard, because they recruited me.
Well, so, yeah, and if you guys have never seen Eric, when he says he's a big boy, he's a big boy. He's a big dude. You're what, 6'6"?
6'6" and 300 now, but I used to be 6'6" and 400.
Yeah, he's Eric's a big dude, and when Eric says he sees other guys that are big, that's That's saying something, folks. It is quite saying something. Hey, if you're in the vertical mode, yeah, he is a large dude. Well, what's funny is the first time I talked to him, because you hear Eric's voice and he doesn't have this big booming voice and something you'd see from a really large person. And the first time I saw him, I was like, who's that guy with Chuck? Where's Eric at? And he was like, oh, and I'm Eric. And I was like, oh my God, that's Eric. Like, it wasn't what I had pictured. And he's tall and he's big, and God, you'd never know it by listening to him. He sounds like just a really soft, gentle, quiet, humble.
My dad was like that,
Yeah,
inherited it. My dad was a gentle giant also.
yeah, and just but a lot of cool stuff. I love meeting people for that. Is my mind's eye accurate? And sometimes it was. And I'll tell you, when I went to Tulsa, I met Chief Stacker. Okay. And the moment Chief walked in the door, I was like, Chief, I knew him. Like, I knew him. I just saw it. Okay. I knew who he was. He walked in, he had the swagger, he had that Navy Chief vibe. I knew exactly who he was. Miss Coin Crew. I knew exactly who Miss Coin Crew. I mean, we've seen Miss Coin Crew, but I knew exactly who she was. She carries herself. You get to know certain people. But there were some people like Mad Stacker. When I saw Mad Stacker's the same way. 6'4", big guy, 260, 250, 260, whatever. Same thing. And I was like, you're not what I pictured. Everyday opportunity. I actually pictured him very close to what I thought he was going to look like. Goatee, long beard. I was like, oh my God, that's him. So it's fun to do that. This is where I think it's fun meeting people. I can promise you, Miss Coin Crew, I don't envision people naked. It's just not something I do. I really hope I read that wrong.
Naked faces.
Oh, naked faces. Okay, I was like, I envision people naked.
Opportunity. And I got to agree. When I saw him, I was like, damn, he's got a beard. Looks like he's,
Yeah. But you see, him and his wife were doing a $50 search last night, and just they're amazing people. They're so much
what were
fun.
they looking for?
Silver and certain varieties on $50.
Did you tell them to look for DDO number 2 and 71D? Everybody always passes that one up. I've seen it. And they get it up there and they go, oh, this isn't it. And they throw it back. And it's like, dude, that one's worth double what DDO number 1's worth.
Yeah.
And it's FS listed.
You know what, though? He's pretty knowledgeable about a lot of stuff like that. He checks for a lot of varieties and errors. So I'm sure he probably has that on his little cheat sheet that he uses. Me says, does adding brass to my stack count as stacking? And I say 100% absolutely, an affirmative yes. And why is that? Well, because if you have any prepper background, anything that is service or protection of family, that is a metal that you definitely want to protect and have. So absolutely, I think it counts towards your stack. What it doesn't count towards is the monetary value of your stack, but it does have huge kudos for protection purposes. Does the world frown on dipping bullion? Wow.
I'm not sure. The world didn't frown on dipping silver coins up until about 10, 15 years ago.
So I'm going to
practice.
I'm going to say it really depends upon the bullion you're dipping. Again, great question. This would be more for the stacking brothers and sisters. I will give you my 2 cents on it. It's going to be my 2 cents only. If you watch people like Yankee and Silver Seeker and stuff like that, they talk about milk spots. They will give you solutions on how to do it, but they'll be very clear that this is a bullion coin. If you're going to be sending something in for grading, they'll recommend usually you don't send that stuff in for grading. The Seeker's really good about understanding a good fair bit about numismatics, so he's not going to tell you to do something that's detrimental. Yankee Stacker's going to be the same way. Silver Dragons,
good morning, Paula.
These folks, they're not going to tell you to do this stuff. Say again?
Paula says milk spots can never be removed. At the stream last night, I finally showed him. I was telling him about these spots maybe a year ago. and he had these coins he was looking to grade, and they had a little white, just but one spot, one little white spot. And I says, just dab it with a Q-tip. And it was actually moisture. That's what it was. It was moisture. And I says, in a year, that'll be a green circle with like a little white cauliflower thing growing off the
It would have been verdigris. Yep. So you can remove, and so again, let's get back to this real quick. I don't want to deviate too far because we have some questions now. You can temporarily remove the milk spots, but the milk spots will always return.
And that goes back to dipping. It was common practice for dealers. Everybody wanted blast white coins in the early 2000s.
That's correct.
Didn't want no toning, didn't want nothing. So they were plopping. I mean, in people that were good at dipping, I'm not one. I'm always, I don't clean. I don't do anything.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when I take photographs of coins, sometimes I have to remove something because it's in the way, and it's usually like a grease blob or something like that. And I don't like doing that. But these people that were good at dipping coins, they were really good at it. I mean, and you really, I mean, it didn't affect the luster or anything. But now it's like, it's a bad thing to do. I mean, it's totally frowned on. People like tone coins all of a sudden. And well, and everybody will want blast white again.
Yeah. And again, when you're looking at this, you have, what is your end goal? Number one, I would recommend never dipping numismatics. Okay. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if you're only doing it for the bullion, you have no collectability, whatever, you don't care about it. The question you have to ask yourself is the person who comes behind you, because you're not going to be here forever, is this going to jeopardize the value of this for the person coming behind me? If you are utilizing it strictly for bullion and stacking purposes, then, hey, if you're going to do that, I have zero issue with you dipping a 2024 ASE. I see no issue with it. If you are going to be, you want to shine up a shiny copper pour that somebody did for you, by all means, dip your metals, right? Not a big deal. If you are going to be doing something for, maybe the red spots or something like that from a gold coin, I might be a little bit leery because you can damage a coin and you can actually, lose and cause etching, and you'll lose the desirability of that. So you've got to be careful. But my recommendation all the way across the board is just don't do it. But again, to each their own, right? But you have to remember that when you do this, one of the common things that we hear is, well, and it's the same thing with buying counterfeit coins. Well, it doesn't affect me. I know they're not real, but you're not going to be here. Eventually, they will end up in the community. And so be thinking about that when you have that. Again, you're going to want to make sure that you keep those things in mind. I will never say dip a coin, but if it's just metal. I mean, we have people who look at they use, what's the liver of sulfur or something like that to tone coins. I don't recommend that on anything numismatic either.
I mean, you can actually tone coins with ultraviolet light.
Yeah, and so again, I don't recommend that. It's artificial toning, especially if it's going to be something that potentially is ever going to be graded or something like that. But you definitely do not want to do that.
And that would be my advice to them is, number one, why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Ask yourself that question first. What is your reasoning behind thinking of doing it? If it's just to make it look better so you can stick it back in a box, don't do it.
And there's a joke about
because you love it looking bright and shiny and white and you want it that way, then it's your coin. But it probably will affect its overall long-term value at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a number of people that have popped in. I want to say hi to a couple people real quick because a number of people come in, and I want to say thanks. ATS, what's going on? Good to see you, bud. I haven't seen you for a while. It's good to see you here. THS, what's going on? DGS MMA, good to see you. Links Jewelry, thank you so much for being here. Silverman, appreciate you coming in. I appreciate all you guys stopping in. Just because I don't call you out doesn't mean that I don't appreciate you being here. I'm trying to track and monitor and ask questions and pull up resources and stuff. So I apologize if I'm missing you. I see lots of people saying hi to you. I just wanted to come out and say thank you so much for being here. You guys, the subscribers are going off the chart today. I'm at 5,800 already. Thank you so much for all the support. I greatly, greatly appreciate that.
I basically agree with what THS said.
I'm way, way higher still looking at questions.
Yeah, no, this was just a statement. Don't clean your coins, period.
Yeah, I agree.
I disagree with it a little bit, but for the most part, 99.999, it's correct. Like I said, there's always a reason to do it. But remember that it's your reason. If you're doing it to increase the value of something, you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely concur. Yeah. So as you're asked another question, and it's up in chat, again, I'm way behind, so I apologize for that. Why do people cheer for higher precious metals if they are still accumulating or buying metal? Part 2, why should we want, or we should want much, much lower prices unless we bought all we're going to buy? So yes and no. Okay, so again, we've talked about this. There's something called dollar cost average. And if you want to keep your dollar cost average low, you're better off buying consistently over time than buying in lump sums. Why is that? Now, if you get fortunate, and a lot of people screw this up, they buy because they hear it, buy, 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 buy. They let FOMO take over, and then they spend way too much money. But then there's the other people who want to watch the market. They try to buy at the dip and then sell high. It depends on what your strategy is. If you're looking for the long-term haul, you want to be looking and paying attention to your dollar cost average. So what does that mean? When you can, that's the key. When you can, you want to buy low, right? But you can't always buy low. Sometimes the market isn't going to drop for long enough, and you only have the money for a short amount of time. So your better strategy is not to save up and buy a bunch of it, hoping that you're going to get the best deal when silver or gold drops, but buy cumulatively. It's the same thing with stocks. You want to keep your dollar cost average down. Now, if you're talking about buying something in a strategy where you want to make sure that you're buying low and selling high, and that's great strategy, especially if you're flipping. But the long-term strategy, why are people still wanting it to go up? Well, because if your value, even if you're monitoring your dollar cost average and the value is going up, technically you're still making money on that stuff you bought a long time ago. Now your dollar cost per average is going up, but your dollar cost yield is still going in a way that you're still making money. Me personally, I want to see lower prices because that means our economy is in better shape, right? So I would rather see a strong economy, see more purchasing power of the dollar, see our dollar better used with buying things and being able to provide better support for my family than worrying about gold hitting $3,500.
I don't. You got me. I buy it and never sell it, so I just don't usually. Most of the silver I have, I bought years and years ago.
Yeah, and so and again, it really depends on your strategy. Number one, have a strategy. That's the big thing. Have a strategy. But again, it's one of those things where, why do people continue to buy? It's all about that dollar cost average. That dollar cost average is extremely important. Now, from that, not being a financial expert, not being a financial advisor, if you want to talk more about that, we do have people who are extremely knowledgeable on finance. If you want to have a topic where we talk finance, where we talk strategies for stacking, strategies for investing in numismatics, strategy for diversification of portfolio, and we want to have a special non-coin, coin-related discussion, let me know, and I'll work on getting some of those people into chat, and we'll have a really in-depth discussion from financial experts. I will have at least one certified financial expert who is actually attuned to providing advice. They're legally responsible for doing that. They are a financial advisor. I can get somebody on to do that. If you're interested in doing that, I can work with them and coordinate a time to do that. I don't know how quickly it will happen, but I'll be willing to do that. If that's something that you're interested in, then email me, let me know, because if I get enough people that are interested in it, then I'll do it. If I only get onesie twosies, I'll just reference you to that person, and then we'll be done. But great question, Azure. Great great question.
And he says he sent you an email. So check your email.
Perfect. I've gotten a few, but I'm looking at a bunch of stuff right now. Littlefoot makes a comment to the discussion that was being had. My intention are to make it so some of my coins are dealer showcase worthy. Well, remember, dealer showcase worthy in a grade may yield you a details coin.
That's right.
So your intent may not be the end result. So be very aware of that. You could have negative repercussions based off of your actions because you just aren't aware of what's going to happen.
And also these people that, I mean, there's probably still dealers out there that are dipping coins all the time. Those people really know what they're doing. Just don't think you can go grab a easy zest or whatever it's called and dip coins and think they're going to come out perfect. These people have been doing it for years and it's art. So it's to me, a very dangerous endeavor to do.
Yeah, it definitely can be. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, anytime you do anything, and a lot of people, there may be people in chat who argue with me on this, and it's okay. Give me more details and tell me why I'm wrong, and we'll have that discussion. Even with conservation, you run the risk of, if anything ever happens to that slab or you want to regrade it, of getting a details coin, even though it was done properly, because that person may not know that it was done properly. They'll just detect the cleaning. When
she says sniff tests, there is a thing that they think it's questionable color now. The grading services have the RF gun and the other thing. It'll actually tell them, and they'll bust it for being cleaned, even if it's been used with acetone. Acetone used to be, oh, you can go ahead and use acetone. If it picks up the solvent on there, they body bag it.
Yeah. Davilo asks a question for the upcoming auction. They want silver ounces of coins. Is sending them a paper certificate a proper donation? I can't answer that question. That has to be taken up with the purveyors of that, because that is a very specific item. We need to talk about what the replications of that would be, but I'm not the person to ask that to. Reach out to Vote for Pedro, and Vote for Pedro can connect you to somebody who can help you answer that particular question. So Davilo, at Vote for Pedro, you can tag him and then ask that question, and then get his email. And Vote for Pedro, if you want to throw your email in, you can do that. And you can reach out to him about any WWP-based donations. I just sent you an email with a very good fake coin. Let me pull that up as you're... Again, I am a little bit behind on my stuff. Eric already told me that was coming, but I need to try to take these in orders. You know, what drives me nuts is this new... Google just issued a new security surveillance thing that says... Your password has changed 24 hours ago. In order to do this, you need to make sure you certify this on all new devices. So now I have to go through and freaking verify that I am who I am on the freaking computer that I did it on. Oh, so frustrating. Oh man. Okay, so this is sad. This is one of those things where yeah. Unfortunately, counterfeit gold, there are other ones that do the same thing. You've got to be careful when buying gold. And you got to be careful buying numismatics. You need to be able to understand what's going on. But when you're talking about bullion, there's only a few ways to test it. And if you are buying online, one of the major problems is your 3 tests that you really want to view, which are kind of like your thickness. You want to check your calipers, your thickness, and your stuff like that, your weight, your sound, and then doing something like this. Sometimes it's hard to get people to do that. And so you've got to be very careful. What I would like you to do, Azure, is Take really, really, really good, clean, solid images and send this to Jack Young. And they will look at the elements and see if they can identify markers and stuff like this. This will help feed a knowledgeable base of counterfeits. So if you'll do me a favor and send really, really, really good quality images to send them to me. And I mean, again, good lighting, good clean things where you zoom in and you can see the fields very nicely. And I'll make sure that that gets into the hands of Jack Young. But I appreciate that, Azure. I really do. And I'm so sorry. I hate seeing people. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of my missions, right? Protecting our community and helping inform. Unfortunately, stuff like this, it's so hard to do. But we have a ton of people who really strive in the community to do this. It sucks that you got caught with the purchase of a fake gold coin. My heart goes out to you, man. That sucks.
What did the dealer say? Oh, gave you your money back. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, and let's see what we got here. I took the okay, so I'm finally caught back up. I took it back, and they gave me my money back. Yeah, again, that's really nice. Here's here's the thing. Even if you don't have a Sigma, a lot of people can't afford them. Okay, there's a lot of folks in this community who have a good fair amount of money, and then there's other people who just don't, right? They're happy to be able to afford an ounce of silver or a half an ounce of silver every couple of weeks or every month, just because money's that tight. You don't have to own one of these, but here's what you can do. Build a relationship with a coin shop, with a pawn shop, something that will allow you to test your coins. Go in and make sure that if you're buying stuff online, get some guarantees, right? Send an email saying, hey, the first thing I do when I do this is I'm going to be taking it to a coin shop and validating its authenticity. If it comes back as not being authentic, what kind of policy do you have to re-accept this? And if they say we don't accept returns, then be willing to walk away from the deal, right? If you can, when you're buying precious metals, not always, but when you can, try to buy from reputable dealers. Try to buy from trusted sources, and if you can buy it local, buy it local. Now, why do I say that? Because you can do all of the required things that you need to take. You can take your coin collecting kit, you can take your bullion kit, you can take your ping tester, you can take all of that stuff. And if you're doing one of the tests wrong and you're with a really good coin shop, they'll say, actually, that's not how you hold that in here. And they can help you make sure you're testing your stuff properly. So build good relationships with people. Make sure you're asking questions. And if you don't have one, or you don't know of a good coin shop, or you have a coin shop and you don't know whether they're reliable, there is a really neat thing, and I'm going to promote somebody. And so you guys, I want you to do me a favor. If you hear him say anything, tell him that I sent people his way. But Yankee Stacking has a really cool thing that he does with his members. Now, I'm not telling you have to go be a member. I'm just telling you that he does it. But if you want to go be a member of Yankee Stacking, tell him Frosty sent you. But what he does is he has a list of coin places that people that he knows and trusts have vetted over the years. And he makes that available to people. So if you're in an area and you don't know, reach out to somebody who is a member on Yankee Stacking. You can reach out to me if you want to. Reach out to Tiger Stacker. Reach out to Yankee Stacking. Let him know what's going on. Tell him that Frosty sent you. And consider looking at the lowest membership for him. And then this resource is made available to you. It is a really, really cool thing to do, especially for bullion market. Not so much with numismatics and real nice fine coin collecting stuff. But he actually has a really cool stuff that allows you to do that too. Now, there are other sites. I think CoinZip is one that Paula just put into chat that has it as well. That they vet people and they give good recommendations for people like that. Go check those out. But there are people in the community who've done a lot of work and really try to help that out. But again, the biggest thing is having a network of people to come alongside of you and being able to answer your questions. DGS MMA, Yankee introduced me to you. That is badass. I got to tell you, that makes me happy. So I need to tell him. Yeah, there are a few, and again, there are. Yeah, A&A is a great one, Paula. That's a great one. The other one that does a lot of good is the Anti-Counterfeiting Education Fund, the ACEF. They have representatives in each state. Now, the people that are on there are specialized for certain specific things. And again, there are a number of things that you can do to reach out. Of course, you can always email Mike Noodle or Mike Nodelman from the Coin Show podcast, who works at one of the most amazing shops probably in our country, which is the Harlan J. Burke. You see that the HJDTLTDBQPRMT, whatever that freaking thing is. If you don't know that channel, if you don't know Coin Show podcast, if you don't know Ancients with Aaron Burke, if you don't know his counterpart Matt at the Lost Dutchman. Oh my God, I just remembered it. What the hell? I remembered the name. I focused so hard to do that. Go check those folks out because they're very, 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 very knowledgeable. And if you are into Ancients and you are not aware of who Aaron Burke or Harlan J. Burke or I can't remember the sister's name. You're going to have to put that in there. Damn, she's smart as hell when it comes to that stuff too. The family's gifted as hell. And you're always welcome to reach out to them. Mike often comes in here. But yeah, again, make sure you have trusted sources. As Paula just stated, not all coin dealers. Shanna Schmidt, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you putting that in there. But if you're into Ancients and you're not a part of that community over there, you'd better get on the ball because they do some amazing stuff. Justin Eben has just subscribed. Justin, if you were on the vertical side or if you're in horizontal, on the vertical mode in the bottom right-hand corner, I have amazing supporters and your name just showed up on there. So thank you so much for being a subscriber. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you feel like I deserve that. Thank you. Let's go. There was another question and I missed. Is Mama T running flea market? You know what? I don't know. Let me check and see. YouTube. Let's go to Mama T. I don't remember what her channel thing is. Why is that's Merle Haggard? I think it's there. Go. Mama T Coins. Is she on today? Live? Is she staged? I don't see anything staged, so she doesn't have it pre-staged. But I don't know if that doesn't mean that she's going to be live or not. And I apologize. I didn't realize I was still sharing my screen, but I'm not sure if she is. I can reach out and find out. Let's see. She always has it set up a half hour before she starts. Oh, yeah. Well, then I would have no way of knowing. Most likely, they're pretty religious about it. They have done that pretty much without fail. So we'll see. Robert Bruce, I have a question about a bunch of Sacagawea dollar 2000 Piedmont. Talking about the tail feather. Could you tell me more about so I can find it? My assumption is you're talking about the cross-hatching pattern that's on the back of some of those.
The Cheerio dollar.
Well, but the Sacagawea, the Cheerio dollar is, it's more than just the cross-hatching pattern. There are other Sacagawea dollars that were part of the Cheerios program that did not have the cross-hatching pattern. The only way...
Like 6 of them?
Say again?
There's only like 6 of those, isn't there?
There's not a ton of them, but there are more out there. There's more than that. There's a number of dies that were used. Let's do...
I told him to search for a Cheerio dollar because I'm sure that's what he's looking for.
Yeah, I want to pull up this graphic right here. This graphic right here is going to... is going to help. Oh, you know what? I can't pull that one up. I hate it when they have the things shut off where you can't share the screen because they have that copyright protection thing on, but they don't even allow you to share the screen, which is terrible because if you're a channel and you are sharing and telling people that, hey, you can go here for a great resource, but you can't show it, it kind of...
Let's see if I can find him images. He says he can't find images.
let's see, tail feathers. I got a really good one right here. Let me share this. All right, so here's the tail feathers. I'm going to actually save the image and just open it up real quick and throw this up here so it shows up in a bigger view. Give me just a second and let me change the sharing on. Let's replace the image with entire screen. All right, that should be a lot clearer and bigger for you. So you can see my mouse. This is the more intricate detail of the tail feather. You can see that it's basically straight. You don't see any of the striations or the lines in this, whereas this one you see the very nice ornate pattern.
The talons and everything are just sharper.
Yeah, so you'll just see way more detail. One of the things that I've heard about this, and again, correct me in chat if I'm wrong, one of the things that I heard about this was that this actually, this detail caused weakness in the dies, and they actually had problems with the dies. That's one of the many reasons they got away from this pattern. This is one of those things. Remember, yesterday we talked about the educational notes, and we talked about one of the problems that is quite frequently had. And again, CCAC, you ever go to one of those, you're going to hear this conversation. And that is the fact that there's complaints about the
dieware.
And dieware, and that's not a great element, and that's not going to show, and blah, 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 blah.
And it actually, on the 2009 cents, there was dieware issues with those designs because they were really intricate, ornate designs. Same with the state quarters. There was a lot of state quarter reverses that only struck 20,000 coins, and those dies are supposed to, strike 500,000 coins.
Yeah, and so again, there's reasons why they did this, but with the Cheerios dollar, and I have this, Paula said, look in the community page. I'm not sure if she's talking about mine. Oh, by the way, folks, I have done something for you on my community page. It's something that YouTube is, I don't know how long it's been a function, but you can now ask questions and include a photo. It has to be approved. But you can ask questions in the community page now. I will approve it. And if it's something that's decent, something worthy, and again, I'll be very specific about that, then I can approve it and answer your question, and everybody can see it. And it'll be on my community page. So go check that out. If you're not there, check out my community page. You can push questions and stuff like that. I'll be checking it about every week. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. There is a wounded eagle. That's correct. Let me pull one of those up and show that thing. Let me pull up one of the wounded eagles. I actually just had one of those up. This is just a quick Google search and you'll see this one. That's the wounded eagle, and that's just a die crack that runs through the wing and then the breast feathers there. That's what they call the wounded eagle. And a lot of people look for this, especially if you're looking at this in higher grades. A lot of people still search for this stuff.
Dreaming of speared bisons now, too.
Oh, God, 2005 speared bisons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, they thought they were rare. Remember, we've been talking a lot about rare versus that.
They still command a decent price. I was shocked.
But there's a lot of them. Paula, was it you guys that was doing the search, and you guys got nickel bags or something like that, and you looked through your whole bag and couldn't find any, and then Blue Ridge Silverhound found something like 50 of them?
Those were the 2022, I think, die break or
Oh,
die
that's
break
right. It was the
number.
die break. That's right. It was the shield scent, the die break on the shield scent. That's right. I can't remember if that was the one, but yeah, so there's a number of these that are out there and you can find them. But Robert Bruce, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to reach out and get a hold of me. I do have to tell you guys, just to remind you, I work a full-time 50-hour-a-week job. So if I don't get back to you for a few days, just bear with me, right? Not only am I trying to cultivate relationships and build videos and do research, I'm also trying to perform my day-to-day job. So be patient with me if you don't mind. I would definitely appreciate that. Robert Bruce, they call it the Cheerio dollar. Well, the reason they called it the Cheerio dollar is because in 1999, when they were putting these out and they were getting ready in 2000 to push these out, they struck a deal with Cheerios. And these, along with scents, there were actually some Cheerio scents that were done as well, not just those. I actually have a Cheerio scent. I'll have to pull it out and see if I can find it and show you. It was just a little package, cardboard, had some cellophane over the top of it, and they were put into the Cheerio box. And so if you're looking for the enhanced feathers, there are only 2 types that have that. You're not going to get the second type because it's the 12 gold dollars that are sitting at the Smithsonian or the Fort. Oh, what did I just go blank? Fort Knox. Okay, and that's the 12 gold dollars that actually went up to space. They are the only other ones with the cross-hatching pattern on the tail, if I'm not mistaken. Other than that, the Cheerios dollars, the only place you're going to find that cross-hatching pattern on the tail. So, but yeah, lots of fun. Lots of fun. Vote for Pedro. I had you pegged as more of a Fruit Loops guy. You know what I see if I think of vote for Pedro eating cereal? I think of honeycomb. See, I think vote for Pedro is a honeycomb guy. But that does remind me. There's they were talking about they were having a discussion regarding the state motto in California, and they were talking about changing it from the golden state to the cereal state. And when asked why, they said it was because of all the Frosted Flakes and the Fruit Loops that were there. Sorry, another bad dad joke at California's expense, but if you've seen the craziness that's going on there, you'll fully understand. All right. And if you live in California, please understand that dad jokes are dad jokes. They're meant to be apparent. Just a lot of fun. Absolutely. Happy to assist, Robert. And again, feel free to ask any questions. Remember, there are no dumb questions, only dumb people. No, I'm just kidding.
The dumb questions are the ones you don't ask.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's what my grandfather used to tell me. Ask the question. If you don't ask it, and there's probably other people in the stream or in the classroom or wherever that probably have the exact same question. So in more cases, you'll probably look like the brave one to many people who want to ask the question but are afraid to. So do so. Not my problem. 73. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see.
Hazer wants to know why the U.S. Mint has not come out with the Space Force medal yet.
Well, so when we're looking,
maybe I don't know.
Well, there's a couple different reasons. If you look at the privies, it's celebrating the semiquincentennial, the 250th anniversary of the 3 services. The Space Force will have that in 230 some odd years. Okay. So they're not even close. They're a really fledgling service, very young. As far as the bronze medals, then I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's because of the newness. Maybe it's because of some of the satire and the ridicule that the Space Force has received, because it looks very close to the Star Trek emblem. I know the mission of Space Force, which used to be stemming from the Air Force, which is secure airspace and cyberspace. They have a space and cyberspace mission. They actually do a lot of stuff with crypto and satellite communications. Air Force still has their hand engaged in some of that stuff. But they have an amazing mission. And it's not because they're not important. I don't know what there might be a legislative thing and a delay. Who knows what the answer is? But if you're talking about in relation to the privies and stuff like that, it's because of the semi-quincentennial. The Army, the Navy, and the Marines are all celebrating their semi-quincentennials this year, which is their 250th anniversary, along with next year being the semi-quincentennial for the independence, the Declaration of Independence, and the signing of that document. So that's the majority of probably why. Let's see. Ringmaster Ray, why would they not be better named the Cyber Force? Because they're not the only ones that do cyber. The Navy.
Actually, I was going to say, I think they're actually going to form a cyber force, cyber task force that will include people from all the services.
They already have that. It's already made, and
but I think it's going to be like an official branch.
It is. No, it already is. It's no. The Space Force governs this, but it's called SPAWAR.
Yeah.
SPAWAR actually is. It's actually already created. It's governed by the Navy. They work in conjunction with Space Force, but SPAWAR is the overarching for DoD members. That's the overarching element of it. Now, are you talking about creating another service branch?
Well, I'm not sure if it was going to be a branch. I just know that I watched a news piece about the Army basically commandeering 4 cyber specialists and making them lieutenant colonels, which is basically one step under a general, I think. And there's a lot of people that were up in arms with that, but the people in the cybersecurity said, hey, you can't get what these people have to offer unless you basically tell them they're coming into the service and pay them. And that's why they did it. So the Army is they're really working on some cyber stuff right now.
Yeah. So the Army Cyber Command is called our cyber. SPAWAR is Navy. And then again, the Space Force is Air Force. They work under a joint entity. I don't know if I can relay what the joint entity is. So I'm not going to do that. But there is a cyber command. It's Cybercom. It's U.S. Cyber Command that actually is the one that manages that. If you look at things like Eurocom or Paycom or Stratcom or all of those, they're commands that govern certain specific areas. Cyber has one. It's called U.S. Cyber Command. And they're embodied under all of them. They look at the dominance of speed, relevance, and scale necessary to win in the nation's defense of cyberspace. I believe that it might be a little bit off from their mission, but that's what their mission is. Why do I know that? Because a lot of the parties that I deal with, if we're looking at systems and hospital architecture and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff is, we have to tie into different backbones. And so if there's going to be government contracts or there's going to be non-government entities that are engaging stuff, there's requirements that they have to meet. So I have heard a lot about what's happening with the various command structures. But as far as having one, they already have one. It's called U.S. Cyber Command. I mean, it already exists. And so blowback towards Space Force. Well, the problem with Space Force is one of the major functions, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, one of the major components when you're looking at the structure or the function of the Air Force is geosynchronous orbits. We also know this as, what is it? Put it in the chat. Geosynchronous orbits, geosynchronous satellites, telling us the position of where we at on the Earth. What's that called? We use it all the time.
GPS, is that what you're talking about? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Global positioning. the Space Force, they're kind of one of their major functions. It was under the Air Force for the longest time. They're the ones managing the rockets that go there. They're the ones that managing the global positioning satellites, that geosynchronous orbit. They're the ones responsible for all of that stuff. They're also responsible for monitoring things along with NASA and stuff like that on the space junk and all the other crap that we have up there. So they have a serious mission. But a lot of people, again, they think of Star Wars or Star Trek when they think of the Space Force, and they just do not understand the relevance of what the Space Force is. I've got friends that are in the Space Force. I got friends that are in all branches. Partially because of what I do, but partially just because I live in Military City, USA. So, I mean, we run across people all the time, especially at the VA. And so we see this stuff all the time. So, but again, yeah, when you're looking at what Space Force does, you owe them to your GPS to them. I mean, that's just so. A lot of people are like, oh, they're underrated or whatever. Well, let's not let them do their job for a couple months, and we'll be back into the Stone Age, because all of our satellite communications, geosynchronous orbits, and of our positions with shipping and airplanes and flights and movements of tracking military assets or enemy assets, that's all done through that branch. So people just aren't aware. They just aren't savvy as to what's going on. The Air Force and the Navy had a really cool joint. Now, Army has a really cool satellite surveillance program that works with the other ones. Where the Army did really good is with their communication, their ground to plane communication, in conjunction with things like AWAC and stuff like that. They have a really cool asset. Then you throw in things like ground support with the A-10 and all that stuff. You have to have communication and satellite and all that stuff for any of their missions. Doesn't matter what service it is, any of their missions to be successful. The Air Force and the Space Force requirement is absolutely at the crux of each one of those. Without that, you're back to the Stone Age when it comes to troop movements and things like that. So a lot of people will hammer that and knock Space Force and stuff like that, but people just need to be aware of their relevance in that particular fold, because they actually carry a lot of weight. So if you're in here and you're with the Space Force, announce yourself proud and bold, man, because you're the reason a lot of people who are directionally challenged can get to their locations. And I don't say that like GPS. Okay. So, you know, there are a lot of people out there that owe their arrival times to you. So me says, I have an atlas in the rig. Oh, I still keep maps. Don't get me wrong. If something happens and you need to find a way, I keep a map. I update it every couple of years. My map is probably more up to date than my OnStar is in my car, and it costs a whole hell of a lot less. Eric, did I ever tell you the story about my son telling me he couldn't read a map because he couldn't find the key?
No.
He looked through my car and he was like, I told him, you know, you have to look at the key to understand it. He's like, well, where the hell is the key located? He was looking in the glove box. He was looking in the little hatch. I was like, oh my God. I had to teach him what a key was. I realized it was a failure as a parent. It wasn't a failure in the kid.
Well, was it though? Because how many people use maps now? Everybody's got GPS.
Well, but yeah, but if you're talking about strategy and survival and things like that, you have to teach them how to use some of the things of the old ways, right? Because of all that technology.
You would have people from 200 years ago saying that they failed because they didn't teach their kids how to use a sextant.
What's a sextant?
That's how ships used to navigate the ocean.
No, dude, I'm being facetious. I was in the military.
Right.
Exactly. I was in the Navy. No, I'm just being facetious. No, but that's absolutely true, right?
Yeah.
You know, we forget some of these things, but let's talk about ancient coins, right? We talk about some of the ways that they had minted some of these old ancient coins and how they did some of the things. How in the world did they understand the quality and the purity? Look at the assays and how they were able to do that. Look at some of the quality of some of the ancient coins that came out. Look at some of the ways they minted some of these things. They were very old style technologies that we would have extremely benefited today from. And some stuff, I love watching these woodworking shows or these metal. Have you seen the one? It is Adam Savage. It's the new takeoff from the one where it was the anti-mystery where they Mythbusters. He was showing a guy who was redesigning artistry in medieval night
Oh,
wear.
you're
Like,
talking about what's it? Build It. Adam Savage's.
yeah,
It's on YouTube.
yeah, and they go through and they look at old ways to build stuff, and they look at old Japanese architecture where they had these massive Japanese temples that were built together without a single nail. They were all dowels and joists and stuff like that. You can completely take it apart, tune it up, replace the piece, put it back together, but there's no nails involved, there's no screws involved, nothing like that. And they were doing one where they were talking about medieval architecture and medieval metalworking and some of the stuff that they were doing and some of the things that they did. And they were talking about, it's like, hey, remember the intricacies that you have on this night work. There's very likely specific coins that were done in honor of the Caesars and the czars and the stuff like that, that were lost and destroyed, that the opulence of some of these will never be known again because we lost how they did it. Looking at the one, if you guys remember the one, there's a video I did on it. It was done in honor of the death of Queen Elizabeth, or not Queen, yeah, Queen Elizabeth II. That was done by the East India Company. It was the $20 million gold coin. It had like a kilo of gold and then pearls and all the inlaid of all the diamonds and stuff that was put in there. And you look at, I mean, some of those are new technologies, but some of those are utilized very, 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 very old technologies to do some of the carving and stuff like that. So that it's just amazing. And so we have a requirement to stop the reliance on pure technology, or we lose those resources. And God forbid, if anybody here is a prepper, man, you want to make sure you know how to do things like light a fire. You want to know how to do stuff
Now,
like that. So
here's a question for the preppers. Do you like go to garage sales and get encyclopedias and stuff? Because if that day comes, all our digital information will be gone. So is that something you preserve too? Do you store food and all this stuff to live, and then do you store knowledge also?
I know in some cases people do. I know that I don't remember who was on. We were
Yes, he
talking
does.
about this.
All right. Some people do. Nice.
We were talking about this in I want to say it was Tiger Stacker, and he had somebody come back up and they were saying they have like old Bibles, they have old poetry, they have old book collections of like artwork and stuff like that. They have old tools that you just don't see anymore. There are a number of items that people have done that people keep. So I would say the answer is yes. General public, I would say no, but
I
there are
mean,
definitely
when you
people
hear about it, that's not something like when you watch somebody that's creating a homestead to prep with. They don't usually advertise that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Nope, I hear you. Let's go check out and see. I'm still following up to see if
how to turn a wrench. That is true. Society is showing that now, not just with wrenches, but electricians and plumbers. There is a shortage.
Yep, I agree. So
That's
I
why
still
it
don't.
costs you $200 to get a drain snake now, when it used to be $50.
I have a couple of those. I've taught my kids how to use those and what the purpose is. And
Yeah.
the only one or two times you really want to call a plumber, if your pipes bust, call a plumber. Just shut the water off and call a plumber. Cutting into the wall, not knowing what's going on, you can cause yourself lots of issues. Cut through electricity and you're not knowing what you're doing and you start cutting through a wall and, you got water in your wall and then you cut through an electrical line. Yeah, you just be smart about it. There's times where you call professionals to do the work for you. Let's see, a really cool thing to see with Bibles through the ages, compare them. phrases, changes, manipulate, obedience. Yeah.
Yep.
And the translations. If you look through the translations over the years, you'll see even amongst a specific group, you'll see changes in their supporting language. Let alone that, what's the freaking wonky new phrase fandangled Bible? I call it the woke Bible. I don't know what it's called. Where they talk about it in the new kids' language. Have you seen?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness! I was listening to that. I about died. I was like, "What the hell?" You know. And Mary said, "Hey, Riz, with it, we got some flow. We got that." I'm like, "What the holy crap? Are you kidding me?" Like, it's all written in this new language speak. I can't think of what the name of that. I was just like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me!" My daughter was like, "No, check this out," and she played me a couple of videos. I think I posted one a long time ago. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you got to be crazy! That's insane." But again, as our language changes, translations change, and as our understanding of words change, they get shifted and mingled. And so, yeah, definitely. Like the 90s hipster Bible. Yes, exactly. My grandparents were like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "You don't understand it?" Now, there were some things about that were kind of, I say, satirical. In some cases, even anti-religious. Because there was a lot of sarcasm and satire in how things were done. But yeah, crazy stuff. So again, and we talked about this with language. I mean, Paula and I and you had a discussion regarding lamination or delamination. Why would they use that word, and what does it mean to certain people? And right, so there's a lot of language that's used that can be potentially confusing within numismatics. But it's just because the person who identified it was like, "This looks like this," or they didn't have a better word to describe it, right? So, let's see. Azure says he's looking for some stuff. Platinum Eagles, 99, 2001, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 14. If you have any of these, reach out to Azure. I got a couple of people I'll connect you with. Azure, make sure you reach out to Mike. Okay, Mike.
Contronyms.
Contronyms. That's a word I have not heard before. Elaborate. What's a contronym? I'm curious. I'm going to learn something today. Contronym known as an autonym or an antonym or an autonym. Wow. With two meanings that are opposite of each other. The word is generally accepted in the English language, but knows to have self-contradictions. Examples include to cleave. Cleave is to sanction or to split apart. Oh, interesting. Sanction can be approval or to punish. Oh, so you can cleave something apart, or you can cleave something together, or you can sanction something, meaning you approve it, or you can sanction something to punish. Interesting. I didn't know that. Very, very good. Yes, I like learning.
Some new cars don't even have spare tires, Robert Bruce.
Yeah, whenever I'm in those, it does.
Right.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Contronym. I'm going to have to use that in a sentence sometime this week for work.
Good luck.
Actually, I'll just tell people that I learned a new word and
there you
explain
go. The
it.
word's contronym.
Reinforce the knowledge. I like learning stuff like this. So again, Mike, for the knowledge blow, thank you so much. My kid learns how to change their own oil and basic mechanical work on their trucks before they got their license. Yeah, that's unfortunately I didn't have. I had my grandfather who taught me a little bit about it, but I didn't have a dad who was really engaged. So I didn't learn about that stuff until I was well into my late teens, and I mean 19, early 20, 21. And then ironically went into a field where I had to understand hydraulics and pneumatics. So learned a lot really fast. Very cool. Well, hey, we are already at 10 o'clock Central, 11 Eastern. I am going to go ahead and start wrapping stuff off. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had a wonderful time today. The conversation has been great. I even told Eric, man, I hope people have questions because I really didn't have a whole lot planned.
I told you so.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll gladly accept the "I told you so." For all the people that came in, a huge thank you. We had a number of new subscribers. Thank you so much for doing this. One thing that I am doing is once a week on my Saturday and Sunday streams, I'm reaching out to the subscribers who have come in and I'm tagging them on my live. So if you see your name show up in a video and you're trying to wonder why you were tagged in this, it may be because you're a new subscriber, maybe you're a supporter of the channel, maybe you've been a member for more than 12 months or something like that. It's just my way of acknowledging you and saying thank you for being a supporter of the channel. Now, with that, I'm going to say one last thing before I go. 949 has been a member for a long time. 949, I appreciate all of your support. 18 months. You're one of the original OGs. And, you know, a great story about 949. 949 came into my stream and we were having a topic. And this is where, again, it's important to understand what's being said. And I was calling him out because he asked a good question, but I was doing so in a way that he felt like I was coming at him. And him and I reached out afterwards and we had some conversation and we talked about it and we understood that it was just simply a miscommunication. And because of that, 949 and I have actually been able to converse about a bunch of stuff. He's been in, great supporter of the channel, offered tons of memberships and done stuff to really support the channel. But it was because him and I were willing to actually discuss and talk about what happened. And I have a respect for 949 because of his willingness to do that. And I just want to tell you, brother, I do appreciate you. It's something, it's a lost art in our society to be able to come out and say, hey, you know what? I felt like you were attacking me. What was going on? Did I misunderstand what was happening? And I was like, no. You were talking about stuff and it was great conversation. And I was 949, you're saying this, and 949, you're saying that. And I'm trying to reinvigorate the fact that you're bringing this up. And he was like, oh, I felt this way. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And hey, let me send you something. He's like, no, let me send you some stickers. And it just became a really good thing. And it was because we were able to get over something because of a simple misunderstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, communication is key. And if you want to build good relationships, you want to build good friendships, then you have to be able to communicate. So 949, much appreciation to you, brother, because again, without that interaction between you and I, there could have been some hard blood there, and I appreciate you. Eric, any posing words for you as you're leaving? Any announcements? What's going on in your channel today?
That I got a roll reveal around 5 o'clock this afternoon. That's it. Besides that, I'm just sorting coins all day.
We have one other cool thing that's happening today. If you are at Copper Coins, I'm going to throw a link in there. Today, Chuck is going to be doing something called, let me pull this up. It's called Waffles and Syrup or something like
waffles with syrup.
I'm not quite sure what exactly was meant with this, but it's a really cool piece. This is live streamed tonight at 6 p.m. East or 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. He's going to do a really cool kind of game opportunity to win some really neat stuff. He's explained it. You want to go see it, go check it out. I've dropped the link in chat. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of cool things. Natastack said she's going to be there. I know a couple other people that have already left the stream are going to be there. Go check out Copper Coins. Make sure you subscribe. When you get there, tell him Frosty sent you. He knows that I'm a huge supporter of his channel, and I try to always support that. Mike, you guys are off this week, so there is no Coin Show podcast.
He posted a link with Aaron Burke, but the link won't work on my computer. I don't know.
Let me go check out my ancient coins with Aaron Burke. Let's see what we've got. Aaron Burke, let's check out. I don't see any lives on his channel. I know that he just dropped a video about 4 days ago regarding ancient coin that's worth like 200 grand. He did do something with a tetradrachm or something like that came
New
out.
Episode today.
Say again?
Mike just put in chat. There's a new episode coming
New
out
episode today. Okay, perfect. So make sure you're going to go check out Ancient Coins with Aaron Burke. Again, a phenomenal channel with a couple good humored people. Great information, great knowledge.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
If you watch that, make sure you go back and start from episode 1 and watch, because it is fascinating, and it's going to take a long time for me to get through them all, but there is just some crazy historical stuff.
So I'm going to throw in the playlist is here. Again, the link is there. Go check out that. That is Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke. And he talks about a bunch of different ones. I don't know if this is going to take you specifically to episode 64, which was the one that I was watching. It was on Numisbids on a specific lot of coins.
And that's what got me, is he had a new one, and I watched it. And I was like, wow, yeah, I want to start watching these. And of course, I went all the way back to the bottom of the list. That is episode number 2. Episode number 1 somehow must have had to be uploaded after it, and it's second on the list.
And he does those from newest to oldest. So when you go into his playlist, you'll see the newest ones up top. So you can just scroll down to get back to the other ones. But it's episode 65 today. Very cool. So go check that out. And again, if you go check that out and it's your first time over there, please make sure you drop something letting them know that you came over from Frostbite Coins. Because Aaron and Mike are great supporters of the channel, and I want to make sure that they know that I'm supporting them as well. So please, you go check them out and drop that, drop a like, maybe a subscription, and let them know that I sent you over there. Yep, thank you, Pedro, for throwing in Livecoin QA. Make sure you're going to check out the clan over there at Livecoin QA. Tons of great information. Folks, there's so much good information out there. Just make sure that you are doing your due diligence. Ask difficult questions. And if you have any questions, please feel free to come in here. If I don't have the answer, I won't pretend that I do. I will send out some information. I will get the people who know, and who knows, maybe we'll talk about it in our next live stream. Eric, thanks so much for being up here, brother. Paula, thank you for being in chat. Love you. Prayers, my friend. I hope you guys have an emotionally stress-free day. Mike, thank you for being in chat, for all the support. Vote for Pedro, all my mods, all the channel members. Thank you so much for all you do. Be well, be blessed, you folks. And I will see you in the streams. Take care.
Talk to you later.